What's going on, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com. The CES devices are coming into the house. One of those devices is the Motorola CLIQ. It's a huge upgrade to the original device, and it has a 1 GHz processor. Ships with Android 2.2. It has a 3.7-inch display, which is much larger than the original, and the keyboard is much improved as well. You know, it's one of those devices where the original CLIQ was kind of a mid-range, low-end to mid-range device. This borders the high-end device lineup. So good price, a nice device, and appeals to several different demographics. That said, can it compete with things like the G2, the MyTouch 4G, some of T-Mobile's other high-end lineup, or some of the other devices in their high-end lineup? We'll find out in the full review. Special thanks to T-Mobile and Motorola for hooking us up with a review unit, and special thanks to our friends at Best Buy. They're hooking us up with 2 of these so we can give them to you in the one-paw bandit game. So when you go into Best Buy, you don't have to deal with rebates. That $99.99 out the door. Don't have to worry about paperwork, waiting 8 to 10 weeks. Pretty cool there, huh? Enough of that, let's get into the review. One place where this device really excels, and this is Moto Blur across the board, this isn't just the CLIQ 2, but Moto Blur does a good job with widgets, in my opinion. Now, this is going to be a love-hate thing. A lot of people like widgets on Sense, which I also do. I think they're fantastic. And some people like TouchWiz widgets. But one part that I have to give credit to Motorola for, when you go to Motorola widget, for example, let's go to Calendar. Let's set it up. Yeah, we'll make that done. And you can see my favorite part, the ability to customize the size of the widget. You don't get that in any other platform. You know, it's only on Moto Blur, and you can customize it to your liking. You can make it as big, for the most part. I mean, there are some limitations, but you can make it as big or as small as you want to. And you see if I make it too small, it gives me the X. But I can make it like that. I can make it however I want to, so I can customize it to the space on the screen as opposed to, just a gigantic widget saying there's no room. So I can do that. Show you another one, for example. Let's do weather. We'll bring up weather, current location, Charlotte, and expand it out like that. So the ability to do stuff like that, fantastic in my opinion. I like that. You can make it smaller if you want to. And it's just a nice customization option. And for people that really like customization, I think it's a nice touch. You'll see a lot of Motorola widgets, these widgets to turn on GPS, turn on Wi-Fi, airplane mode, Bluetooth, etc., etc. And then the total Motorola, you have some Android widgets as well, battery life, which is one I've downloaded. But you have the typical Google search, news and weather, market, power control, YouTube, things of that nature out of the box. But you also have here your Motorola widgets, airplane mode, Bluetooth toggle, calendar, music player, and a lot of these, if not all of these, are very customizable in terms of size and more. Social networking, sticky note, weather, and then of course your toggles as well, which is just what we passed with the widgets to turn on GPS, things like that. So you go down to messages, which is one of my favorite as well. We'll show text messaging. Don't have any recent messages. Click on that. We'll expand it out. And there you go. So you can do a lot of customization options. I really like that, and have to give them credit for that. Let's take a look at the phone application, and if you worked with an older version of Blur, they have made some minor changes across the board here. So I have some contacts in my oldmanmctweety@gmail.com address. So we'll put in 555, and you can see that it automatically picks up that my number has 555 in it. When I dial 12, you can see it dropped to 1 match as opposed to 3. So you have this nice little area where it'll show your contacts, show the one that you're dialing, put in Aaron, for example, A-A-R-O-N. You can see that it pops up. I can dial from there. Or it'll show missed calls or calls that I've made as well. So if you have a missed call from Aaron Baker, it'll pop up right here as your most recent call that you've had. Other options down here, voice commands, back out of that, send, and then the ability to add a contact when you add the numbers to the text box there. Recent, you can organize those by all calls, missed calls, received calls, outgoing calls. We'll make all calls. Contacts, you can see my sample contacts, and of course the T-Mobile stuff, and favorites as well. Apparently Old Man Baker is the only contact that I call, so he's on my favorites, which really Old Man Baker is me, which really means that I have no friends. So it's a sad day. But anyway, that your favorites will appear as you call people based on the number of times that you call them. So, phone app varies from Sense UI to TouchWiz to Moto Blur, but I happen to like the phone application on Blur. In addition to the T-Mobile stuff, you get obviously the free programs like My Account, My Device Help, and tutorials. You do get visual voicemail for free, which is nice, and I've already set it up, but you can see it's empty. I can sort, I can delete multiples, I can call it if I want to, and then I can do voicemail settings. I can record my greeting from the application, change my PIN. So, you know, in the age of visual voicemail on the iPhone and a couple of other Android devices, it's really nice that they package that as part of the plan. Just wanted to point that out in the video. Again, that is free. So, you know, I mean, it saves you $2 a month, or, you know, that Verizon charges, $2 or $3 a month that Verizon charges. So, you know, hey, pennies add up. That's $36 a year. So, it is nice. Let's take a look at the camera. It's 5 megapixel camera with a flash. All in all, with the camera, I haven't been that impressed. But, you know, again, it's 5 megapixel camera. It's kind of a mid-range device. I wouldn't expect that much. Let's take a look at my watch, for example. We'll take a picture of that, and I'll back out so we can get autofocus. Again, you have that camera shortcut button over here on the right, half press to autofocus, which, you know, I do have to give them credit for that. A lot of these phones are coming without camera buttons on the side. It's fine and well and good and all, but when you're taking a picture outside, you know, you're holding it up, your hands may be shaking, and it results in a blurry picture. So half press, autofocus. Actually, let me get that. Let me get it a little bit out of the light here so you can get an idea. Put it over here. So not, you know, it's not terrible, but we'll go back to that. Not terrible. When you take a look at the picture, you can see some graininess. I don't know if you're seeing it in the camera, but you see, you know, it's nice around the band. You see a little bit of graininess here. So when you're in a well-lit situation, like all the lights that I have shining down on this right now, it's fine. When you're outdoors and the sun's shining, it's fine. But when you get into low-lit situations, it didn't perform as well, in my opinion. Let's go back to the camera just to show you some of the editing options. Click over here, you can see scenes, effects, flash, and switch to. It's a pretty simplistic camera user interface, which I happen to like. You can just scroll through your effects, for example, see normal, black and white, negative, etc. Solarize, red tint, green tint, so you can change those up as you see fit in a pretty easy scrolling manner. Let's go back into the camera and see those one more time. Flash, and then you can switch to the video camcorder if you want to. Same thing there, video camcorder works fine. But our camcorder rather works fine, but nothing to write home about. Now it's time for the quadrant standard scores to see how this thing stacks up. Let's take a look at those. Load up quadrant standard. Run the full benchmark. And it's loading now. Let me tell you a little bit about the device while it's loading. You know, overall I've been pretty pleased with the call quality. I did take it to T-Mobile dead spot. I held the call. It was very, very, very choppy, but I didn't drop it, so I was impressed with that. I've also been really impressed with the data speeds on this device. It performs well. It's consistent. It's consistently performing in the 3 to 5 megabits per second range. In my testing, at least, on the download, let's say 1 to 3 on the upload. And, you know, it's, again, very consistent, and that's one thing. Consistency is big for me because WiMAX and some of these others, it's fine, and, you know, the speeds are very good most of the time, but then you'll get, you know, 8 megabits per second one time. You run the test again 2 seconds later, and you get 1 megabit per second. So the consistency was impressive and was very nice. But call quality was good, speakerphone was good, and excuse me, overall I had no problems with the device in that area. Let's see. This is one area that did shock me, though, when I was doing some benchmark testing. See, the device comes in, the score is 805. So very low, you know, especially given that it's running Android 2.2. It is Moto Blur probably that saddles that down a lot, you know. But again, in day-to-day tests, I didn't see that slowdown. So it may have a score of 805, and if you're doing any sort of gaming or anything that's, you know, graphically intense on this device, it's probably not going to perform very well. But in day-to-day tasks, text messaging, getting on the Android market, browsing the web, making phone calls, I didn't notice any slowdown whatsoever. So take that with a grain of salt, unless you're playing games or you're doing something that's pretty graphically intense. I wouldn't worry about it too much. Let's go in and do our speed test. And we'll have it on Charlotte. Make sure you that server list, and let's see what we pulled. Now, you know, it's right around rush hour time, so it wouldn't surprise me if the numbers are less than stellar. Let's see here. So we're pulling, it looks like about, okay, 2.5 megabits per second, roughly, somewhere around there on the download. Then on the upload, it's like about 2 megabits per second. About 1.7. Okay, 1.7, let's say, megabits per second. Let's do one more test just to make sure. And you can see, okay, now we did get into the 3 megabits per second range. Okay, yeah, and then on the upload, let's see, drop there a little bit. And about 1.1 megabits per second. So not bad at all, right in that range that I was talking about. And you know, all in all, I've been very pleased with the way it handles data. So it's a great device to me for the price point. You know, you can't really beat it. If somebody's looking for a nice mid-range to almost high-end device, they don't want to spring for the G, even though the G2 is cheap right now. They don't want to spring for the G2. They don't want to spring for the MyTouch 4G or any of the other high-end Android devices that are kind of on T-Mobile, like the Nexus S. I definitely recommend it. I think the CLIQ 2 is a nice upgrade from the original. The hinge, nice and sturdy. Then you'll see the Motorola logo on the back. But you know, all in all, build quality is very good. A significant improvement over the original. It's relatively thin. It has a nice keyboard. You really can't go wrong with this device. A lot of people don't like Motorola. And test it out in store. You know, you may like it, you may hate it. Totally dependent on what you like. You know, there's a lot of hate about Motorola. I happen to. I mean, it's not my personally, it's not my favorite with the exception of the widgets. But I see a need for it for devices like this that are kind of segue devices between smartphones, first-time smartphones, and kind of mid-range Android devices. So keeping that in mind, it's a nice device, and I've been very pleased with it. Much more coverage to come on PhoneDog.com and the Motorola CLIQ 2. I have dogfights scheduled all this week with the CLIQ 2, so keep that in mind. We're going to pit it up against the Evo Shift, the G2, several more devices in the coming days. So be sure to keep it locked on PhoneDog.com. Be sure to like us on Facebook as well, Facebook.com/PhoneDog. We're closing out our 100 iPad and tablet giveaway. You still have a chance to win, though, on Thursday, the 27th, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be sure to like us before then. And hey, you like our network pages, today's iPhone, Droid Dog, etc., etc., you can win extra votes. So head over to Facebook.com/PhoneDog and take a look at that, and be sure to enter our contest. We have more contests coming up in the future, so keep it locked on our Facebook page for that. Be sure to follow me on Twitter as well, PhoneDog_Aaron. Let me know what you think about the CLIQ 2 if you own one, and any comments, questions, give me a shout. I'll be sure to do my best to answer those as quickly as I can. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.